Greetings and welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the kitty playing with a pen cap. One of his favorite toys. Oh boy, how's everybody doing on this Saturday morning? I guess it's Saturday morning for me. It might be Saturday night for you, depending on where you happen to be and when you're watching it, etc., etc., etc. So, we have Midnight Owls on. Greetings, Midnight Owl. Who are you? Serge, how's it going there? Yeah, eventually I will get the computer over to calculate. I'll let you know. Todd Bentley. Hello, Todd. Nathan, AI judges would be good. All right, we have a candidate for the position of AI judges. And then Serge says, do you know any judge who is knowledgeable enough in AI? Yu-Gi-Oh! How's it going there, Ricky? And Mr. Loopy's here. How's it going there, Loopy? Yeah, you know. He went from Linux user to Linux programmer. So Louis, Loopy, I mean, come on. Some web development stuff, alright. Alright, let's see. Hello, Thomas. Greetings there. I'm compiling Thunderbird and watching your live stream, so you can use your computer while compiling. Alright, there you go. Alright. So, the first order of business is a few people asked for a brief update to the Jussie Somllett case. Of course, I don't think I've covered it on the Switch to Linux channel. I did cover it on one of the other channels. But we're going to go ahead and have a look at that. We're not going to record or re-release that. This is a bonus for catching the video live. I might wait until there's one more person on here. Gotta have at least 10 people. For me, having 9 people on a Switch to Linux stream is a little weird. Of course, I think YouTube is shadow banning my channel again. Videos have started to become demonetized and fun stuff like that. So, you know, put everything out on all the media accounts. But it's also, like, really warm out right now. I actually turned off the heater yesterday, so I don't know. So should we get started? Or should we wait? After this stream, doing a Hangouts, just so you can have a video. All right, there you go. So join Loopy for a Hangouts if you want. I will not be there, unfortunately. It's almost 60 degrees out there. Think I'm going to be inside a computer all day? No. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. So first, let's talk about this Jussie Somllett case. So if you are unaware of this, this was a guy, an actor and musician who is black and openly gay, alleged that he was the victim of this horrendous hate crime, causing national outrage, and all these people were going, oh, this is, like, Trump is so evil and racist. That's why this happened, because these guys, these white guys wearing MAGA hats, scream at him that this is MAGA country, and then they put a rope around his neck, and very curiously, right at this point in time, there was a anti-lynching law up for debate that passed because of the publicity surrounding this case. And so here's kind of the timeline of events. January 2nd, a week before the reported attack, a threatening letter showed up to him. Basically that, you know, it's kind of spells out, you know, death threats against him. The envelope reads MAGA, an apparent reference to President Trump's Make America Great Again slogan. And then Chicago police open a hate crime investigation after he was attacked near his Chicago apartment. Said the two men approached him around 2 a.m., shouted racial and homophobic slurs, poured an unknown chemical substance on him, and wrapped a noose around his neck. All right. So police confirm that a second interview with police, he told detectives his attackers yelled, "This is MAGA country." Chicago police released a photo of 2 persons of interest captured on surveillance footage while noting that the attack itself was not captured. Very curious that in an area with so much security footage, the actual attack wasn't caught. Apparently noting skepticism that some have raised about the attack, Somllett released a statement saying he's been 100% factual and consistent on every level. Despite my frustrations and deep concern with certain inaccuracies and misrepresentations have been spread, I still believe that justice will be served. And by the way, right around this time, people in big support of him started putting links to his music CD, so he ended up profiting a lot off of this from the sales of music. He makes his first public appearance since the incident at a sold-out concert in West Hollywood, tears up before the event. Regardless of what anyone else says, I will stand for love. And this is right around the same time he's talking about beating these guys up, being the gay Tupac. Kid you not. Chicago police released the initial incident report. It says a friend of Somllett who reported the incident to police says Somllett did not want to report the offense, but believed it to be in the best interest to. Report also notes that Somllett still had rope around his neck when police arrived to interview him. So he kept the rope around his neck for however long it took for police to show up. Seems a little odd. In the report, he says the attackers were wearing black, and the primary aggressor, he says, they were wearing black masks, but he recalls no other distinguishing features. After about a week's investigation, the Chicago police say phone records Somllett gave them were heavily redacted and do not meet the burden for a criminal investigation. So they asked him for all of his communication records, and it took him over a week to turn those over. After he did, they are heavily redacted. Interesting. Couple days later, he appears on ABC's for his first television interview. He tears up in the interview and pushes back on those who have questioned his story. He says pride made him reluctant to initially report the incident. He was hesitant to give his phone numbers to police because of private information on it. Like the setup. Chicago police say media reports about attack being a hoax are unconfirmed by case detectives. Somllett denies reports through a spokesperson. Chicago Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson says there's no evidence to support that this was a hoax. A day later, they announced they are questioning two persons of interest. Two are seen on surveillance video, but later that day, the two men are released without charge. Police say new evidence has given detectives additional investigative work to complete. Day later, a source close to the investigation tells them that two Nigerian brothers told detectives that Somllett paid them to participate in the attack. They say the rope was found around Smollett's neck was purchased at a nearby hardware store. A raid of their home turned up ropes, masks, and bleach. They say their questioning of the brothers had shifted the trajectory of the investigation, and they requested another interview with Somllett. The actor's attorney says he is angered and devastated by reports that he knew the alleged attackers and that one of the men was his personal trainer. I don't know if it was that guy or the brother who played a small part in the TV show that Somllett was on. The next day, they release a vague statement. Well, we are not in position to confirm or deny or comment on the validity of what's been unofficially released. There are some new developments in the investigation, and detectives have follow-ups to complete, which include speaking to the individual who reported the event. A day later, the two brothers previously questioned by police speak out publicly for the first time. They say, we are not racist, we are not homophobic, we are not anti-Trump, we were born and raised in Chicago and are American citizens. They are of Nigerian ancestry. Okay, next day, two brothers were talking to prosecutors. Sources told them the brothers spent the afternoon at Cook County courthouses. It's not clear if they testified but are expected to do so. February 20th, the state attorney files a felony disorder conduct charge against Somllett for allegedly filing a false report. This was announced soon after Chicago police confirmed Somllett is a suspect in a criminal investigation. Surveillance footage taken shows the brothers buying a red hat and ski mask one day before the reported assault. Okay, Somllett turned himself over to face charges. The judge sets a bond at $100,000 and orders Somllett to surrender his passport. Chicago Police Department Superintendent Eddie Johnson blasts Somllett at a press conference saying he is offended and angered by the apparent hoax. I'm hanging my head and asking why, he says, why would anyone, especially an African-American man, use symbolism of a noose to make false accusations? By the way, the guy who's speaking is a black man. How could someone look at the hatred and suffering associated with that symbol and see an opportunity to manipulate that to further his own public profile. Now, I'm going to pause at this point. All you guys that are running out and saying, Trump's a racist, it's this kind of stuff that you're citing. All a bunch of false stuff. And I'm not a huge Trump supporter. Okay? I voted for the guy because I thought he was the lesser of two evils, and I thought his tax plan was better than anything I saw on the other side. I don't specifically regret my vote, but I don't think the guy is this amazing, glorious president. He's just the president. You know, I don't care. But the fact is, a whole lot of people are pushing all this, he's all a racist, based on stuff like this, which is so clearly a false report. All right. March 8th, Chicago grand jury charges Somllett with 16 felony accounts for every alleged lie he told police. He pleads not guilty. And then Cook County's Attorney General's office reports that all charges against him are dropped and his records will be wiped. The office says he forfeited $10,000 bond. Now, actually, this is a curious thing. This is $10,000. Everything else I'm seeing is $10,000, although there is $100,000 listed up here. That might just be a 10% or whatever else. But he forfeited $10,000 bond payment and did 2 days of community service. In a brief statement to the press, he says he has been truthful and consistent since day one. So, state prosecutor Joe Magus, who made the decision to drop the charges, tells the news he still believes Somllett is guilty. The prosecutor believes Somllett is guilty. The police believe that Somllett is guilty, but guess what? A friend of Somllett is Michelle Obama. So we have a corruption thing going down in the most corrupt city in America, which is known for its corruption. This is hilarious. And even the police and the mayor are saying, this guy's guilty, and asking the FBI to investigate, which now they are. Now, another follow-up. Now, as soon as this was done, they were, all of the records were sealed, but somebody did a FOIA request, and the police released the information in less than 24 hours, which is, like, FOIA requests usually take several months, if not years, to actually get released, and they're heavily redacted. Somebody made a FOIA request, they just released it all. Hey, have fun. Like, instantly. The police is pissed. The mayor is pissed. This is clearly a corruption case. They're dropping all this guys because he is an influential actor who knows the Obamas. Now, what is the FBI doing? Well, one of the things they're doing is they're looking at federal mail fraud charges for, they believe he sent that threatening letter to himself, or he paid somebody to send the threatening letter to him. That's actually one of the things that they believe. And then, of course, they're probably also going to be looking into the circumstances surrounding all this drop. March 28th, the lawyer for the city of Chicago said the city is seeking 130. That's not, I mean, CBS News needs to do some better proof editing. It's $130,000. It's not $13,000. Basically, they sent him a letter saying, you have to pay us $130,000 within 7 days, or they are going to file federal charges for making false reports and things. And basically, that's the cost of the investigation. So this guy's lies, which were created to bolster his own public profile and stir hatred against the President of the United States, cost $130,000 and countless man-hours to investigate a false case, and they let him go because he's a little rich boy who knows the Obamas. That right there is political corruption at its absolute finest. So, I'm sorry, but yeah, I should just stop talking about the subject before I say something that I don't really want to do. Oh, and just as the extra fun thing, his lawyer comes out afterwards saying, well, we know he said it was probably a white guy, and these guys are clearly not white, but we've turned up that this guy actually wore whiteface once. That's right. If anybody would mistake this for a white guy, I think you need to go and see yourself an optometrist and get your eyes checked out. I'm telling you, man, you cannot make this stuff up. This is, oh lordy, like this kind of what makes me get into this whole political commentary stuff, but I'm resisting. What are you guys' thoughts? Let me know. Oh boy. All right. Oh. 4 military artificial intelligence robots slaughtered 29 scientists in a July lab. I didn't hear that, no. Send me a list of programs you use quite often. The only one that I will perceive will be an issue would be Skype. That's the one that I need on this computer for client work. Everything else that I know of is in the repo or already installed on my test machine, so I should know how to get it working. False question. Don't do the bidding for tax evading internet companies. Everyone responsible for his own deeds and uploads. In question, believe it or not, I would let an AI judge because a judge should be unbiased. However, no one is going to program it right. That's kind of the problem, is that all of the AI applications that we know of, they tend to have biases of their programmers. And that's, if we can get over that, then definitely at least an AI assistant to a judge would be a neat thing. But I don't know. Can an AI judge read a person's face and body language for deception or an impression that they are telling the truth? And that is another fascinating point. But there's another thing. Can an AI have compassion and recognize a person who is truly repentant, who is likely to be a not a repeat offender, or is it just going to be looking exclusively at facts? Because law is mostly facts, but not entirely. Right, Kitty? He's a judge. Would you guys like to be judged in the court of CJ the cat? All right. Okay, let's see. It's a judge, only to pass sentence. It's the jury that listens to statements. Okay. Can I have both? Then I get to choose the better sentence? Well, that's another factor. Is in the EU, any AI decisions made in the EU, you can petition to have them reviewed by a human. So there's that. And YouTube has already replaced its community guidelines and enforcement staff with robots. Some of them. Not let AI judge because not even humans can judge me right often. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the main topic for the day, which is our AI judges. So let's go ahead and get started on that one. Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Our question for the day: would you want an AI judge? This is an interesting debate and discussion. There's definitely some pros, there's definitely some cons, and we're going to kind of dig into this because where did this show up? Well, where else would something like this show up but EStonia? Now, of course, I did a tinfoil hat time on EStonia and the coming of the smart cities. If you will remember that, I'll go ahead and put a link to that in the comments here, and I'll card it on the video here on YouTube. But EStonia, of course, they're rebranding EStonia because they're basically trying to produce a social experiment where everything is technological based. They want to get government as slim as possible. They want to get everything into the AI infrastructure as quickly as possible. My ultimate question for this is, if everything is done with this AI, who actually, like, what do people do for jobs in this place? I mean, at some point in time, we have to set down our lattes and go to work. And what do you do if everything that you do is taken over by the these guys. Now, the advantage, of course, is, yeah, we don't have to deal with bumbling buffoons quite as often, but another fun factor of this is who actually has access to this information and how easy is it to manipulate. And I have some serious concerns about this system. Of course, you get in there, everything is all on digital ID cards, your taxes all are filed. There's a lot of things about the system that works really, 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 really well. But we also have to remember that Estonia has a population of 1.3 million. So, you know, that's only slightly larger than my city here. So can my city run effectively as a country with what we got? Probably. Can that scale up to some massive, huge other cities? Probably not. And so these are questions that we have as we're considering AI judges. But they want to look at e-identity, interoperability services, security, safety, healthcare, education, business, and finance. Basically, they want to look into everything. There's definitely parts of this that are certainly intriguing, but definitely parts of this that do cause me a little bit of concern. And I am keeping an eye on this system. But what happened is this article came out from Ars Technica. And in this article, Estonia is starting to look at AI judges. Now, it's important to start at the beginning of this that in the EU, which Estonia is part of, any decisions made by an AI device, the people involved have the right to ask a human to review the case. So that's the type of thing that would happen. So there's a lot of cases that are fairly simple, straightforward, fact-based cases, which would probably work out very well. Ultimately, these cases, there's very little back and forth. There's very little determining who's telling truth and who's lying. You know, contract disputes where what does the contract actually say? Was the contract fulfilled? These types of things can certainly be filled out by an AI type system, as long as there's a human looking over the thing's shoulder. And that's one of those concerns, is that anywhere AI starts to be implemented, humans stop looking over the shoulder eventually. It's kind of like running an automated backup. The reason I never run automated backups is you set them, you forget them, and when it stops working, you don't realize it until there's a system crash. You go back to look at your backups and realize you don't have one. Well, when that happens in the intersection of people's lives, when fines, when jail time, when conflict is present, we don't want an AI to set it and forget it. We really have to make sure that we are objective in what we're doing. And so this is that principle where an AI judge might have parts that are really good, might have parts that are really bad. And so it's one of these things to keep in mind. So, of course, Estonia is, they're putting everything into the system. They're saying here they want the government to be as lean as possible. And by the way, this is a fascinating thing to me, that a person taking a look at implementing all these things as a 28-year-old grad student. I've been a 28-year-old grad student before. Let's see, was I? Yeah, I think I graduated at 28. I was a 28-year-old grad student at one point in time. Let me tell you something about 28-year-old grad students. They're not as smart as they think they are. And oftentimes they get so caught up in their projects, they don't see the concern coming from other places. And so this could potentially be a case that we're working so hard to see if we can do it, we never stop to ask, should we do it? And so this is an interesting perspective. But again, 1.3 million citizens is not a lot of people. So if the social experiment goes crazy and kills each other, I just hope it's isolated like in Jurassic World. But of course, we know how that movie ended. The dinosaurs got off the island and the AI will as well. So we got to think about that. But, you know, if the AI goes crazy and convicts everybody to jail and to a death sentence, then the AI will start in Estonia. That is where Skynet's housed. No. So there's definitely some positive, definitely some negatives. They want government to be as lean as possible. This is very good because it keeps the government costs very low. That is a good thing. Now, does that mean lower taxes? I don't know. I hope so. And if the final ending result is a great decrease of taxes, that is actually a good thing. So the challenge is what percentage of people work for the government. And now if AI is going to replace those jobs, now what do those people do? Especially since in Estonia, they want to do a lot to make sure a lot of different jobs are released. So also in this article, they talk about, they have another thing where if you are in a, getting a subsidy, it's the clauses down here in the article, the algorithm assesses, okay, let me explain it before we get into this. So there's some people that are paid a subsidy, a farming subsidy to make sure the fields are cleared so that basically forests don't crop up. So instead of sending inspectors out to verify fields are cut, they're instead grabbing satellite photos and satellite data and taking this satellite data and analyzing it pixel for pixel and determining from that, is the field mowed or not? Now, there's some instances where the AI can't tell, and so it pushes it to a real person, and then the real person has to drive out and inspect the field to verify. The farmers will get a text if their field is in dispute, and so maybe they could clear up the question or the dispute, or maybe at least they are aware an inspector's coming. So if legitimately it's not plowed yet, that's kind of their warning. Hey, Bobby, get up there and plow back field back there, man, because the inspector might be showing up. All right. So this accordingly saved almost $1 million doing this type of thing. But now it raises the question, what did those inspectors who are now not working, what are they doing for an income? So if you're replacing every single facet of society, then we all just get to live in cheers, right? We go to the bar, we sip our lattes, but then the question becomes, what do we do to pay our bills? What do we do to live our life? What do we do to become independent members and contributing to society? Because people who sit on bar stools drinking beer and lattes don't actually contribute a lot to society. And so this is a good question. Does it free us up for creative arts? Well, the creative arts aren't the solution to everything. They definitely have a very good and very important value in society, and we need the creative artists, but we need other people in there as well. Ooh, are they going to go off and do the tech research? Well, at some point in time, and that's one of the things in the Estonia stuff, is they said, hey, everybody here, Estonia has a much greater percentage of people going into IT than anywhere else in the world. Well, all that means is you're going to have more IT trained baristas because the job market's saturated in that field. And so these are some of these things that we have to think about as we're jumping back and forth between these different things. Basically, they're setting up all the different things the government does. Another one, which I find somewhat terrifying, is when a child is born in Estonia, the records from the hospital go straight to the school, so your child is already enrolled in school. I don't know. I want the choice what school the child goes to. I want to get a chance to go around to different schools. At least here in our town, we have several different little charter schools, and there's public funds set aside that if a parent wants their child to go to one of the charter schools instead of the public school, there's funds to help pay for that. Which is a really good program. I like it because it gives the parents the choice where their child goes to school, rather than just saying, oh, you're born in this region, so you go to this school. You may not like something about that school, and we have more choices and options, and I'm curious about that. And so, yeah, that saves the paperwork and going to the schools and all this. Well, what else are you going to do with your time? Your job's been taken out. You're just sipping lattes somewhere because all your job's been replaced. So, you got everything but time, So, all of this boils down to looking at what is the impetus of AI in the legal system. Now, already there's some AI things. There's actually a company that it's also in here somewhere. I remember reading about this a while back. I'll have to find it. But there's a company in they deployed their service in New York and in London, and basically it is an AI traffic ticket thing. If you get a parking ticket thing. So if you get a parking ticket, you scan your parking ticket and other pertinent information into the device, and the AI thing will look for loopholes in the law and spit you out a defense that will pass and will get you off of your ticket. So you might pay them to not have to pay the parking ticket. So police got noise of this and went back to the same company and asked them to create an AI to reverse the situation. So it just kind of becomes a bunch of AI machines battling each other over parking tickets that probably cost, you know, a dollar anyway. You know, so you get one of these things. And so that type of thing. And then what they're talking about is one of the deepest concerns of this is that when you go off to law school and you become a lawyer, and when you are becoming a lawyer, you start working at a big firm, and then you're kind of this underling, this gopher that's researching the cases, and you're spending all the time, you're putting in the long hours, and they're separating the wheat from the chaff, is a great analogy the article here uses. And they're talking about separating the wheat from the chaff, because that's how you demonstrate yourself as a new lawyer to your law firm. That's how you move up. That's how you get higher and better positions. That's how you become a partner in a firm. Well, what they're talking about is having AI to do all of those types of services. Well, if AI is doing all those types of services, how do these new young lawyers fresh out of law school gain the experience that they need to get out into the world and show themselves that they know and learn themselves? Because I got news for you. I mean, I taught before as a teacher. You think you know the subject. I mean, I taught freshman chemistry. And after 10 years of upper level grad school work, I still didn't understand basic chemistry as well as I did at the end of the first year of teaching, because it really teaches you all those fine arts really, 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 really well. All right. And then, of course, you get into it, you're a couple years in, you know all the arguments, you know the stumbling blocks of the students, you know how to present things a little bit better, you work yourself out. Well, if there's AI that takes care of all these little things, we will have, in a generation from now, we're going to have an entire generation of imbecilic lawyers who know nothing about law because the AI has taken all of their research. And so that's a deep concern about this type of stuff. Same thing, you know, with really any field that requires any level of research. Oh, we'll just pawn off the low level research on the AI guy. Well, you are then depriving a new lawyer of a job, of the opportunity to learn, of the hard research, the things that will make him grow into a good and experienced lawyer. And so these are one of those issues. So now with the AI judge can have a look at these different things and replace a judge for your simpler cases. Now, this is where this is good, because how many times how many cases are sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting to go to trial because there's 16 frivolous or easy to decide things that you just have to do the procedural. All right, next docket, call in the docket, call in this. Let me see the evidence. Let me see your testimony. Let me see this. Let me see that. You waste days after days after days on this little type of stuff that really doesn't mean a lot in the long run anyway. That are so easy to decide. Well, if you hand off those small, simple cases to the AI, and then you got, you know, maybe you hand off about, 500 cases to those, and then the AI spits the thing out, and then you have a panel of 3 judges who read the AI, and if 2 out of 3 of them agree, then let's run with it. That would be a good thing to keep the jobs and run the things through, and then the more difficult cases get sent to the judge. That's a case where this could be a very good thing that actually allows for part of here in the United States, we have a constitutional right to a speedy trial. And so if we are being charged for something, we have to get that trial in and out as soon as possible. The problem is there's so many simple cases that take up the time that people sit in holding cells longer than they possibly should for something a judge would easily look at and decide simply. This would be a way to free up the time for the easy cases, so that the real judges can do the deciding factors over the hard cases. So there's an argument for this that's very good. We got to figure out how to get the different job fields together to work in unison with one another. That's ultimately the point. So do you want an AI judge? I would say it kind of depends on the case. If there's a clear-cut case, I don't want to be waiting around for 5 years to wait for some judge to rule on the thing because he's got 16 cases. I'd rather the stuff go right through the system. But man, if I'm being accused of some crazy crime and I know I didn't do it, I really don't want AI to sift through that. I'd really like a human there to be involved a little bit more. So those are my thoughts on AI judges. What are your thoughts? What are the things you resonated with the most in this? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments down below. You can help support the channel by having a look at the links up right above me if you want to get something like this cool Switch Linux hoodie, or this is my Switch Linux coffee cup. You can check those out, shop.switchlinux.com. Also have a look at the social media sites if you want to follow along and get more updates on what's going on. So thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux. All right. Let's cancel that and minimize you. I'm just going to go ahead and drop the next title in so I don't forget to do it. And then we will catch up on comments. And then we got one more section to do. Okay. And banners and title. Replace. Bink. All right, let's see. Okay, well, they want to completely eliminate their court process in traffic cases. Am I from the EU? No, I'm not. Is the law you're judged by your peers? Is an AI judge your peer? No, actually, the law is for a jury trial. Okay. Why don't we clear this up a little bit? There's a couple different types of cases. There's some cases where you defer all judgment to a judge. There's some cases where, like, procedural things would be the perfect place for AI. And then there's like criminal trials, which are a jury trial, in which case the judge will determine which facts are relevant. The judge will tell the jury the types of things that they can consider and will verify and vet the process, but the jury is actually the ones that make the decision. So the law regards criminal trials and some civil trials regarding a jury of a jury of your peers. That, of course, could not be AI'd. And so in that case, I would say the judge would definitely really, truly have to be there. Okay, I'd like to see early release for good behavior completely removed and people actually do their whole sentence. Yeah, I'd probably agree to that. Maybe. I don't know. It depends. I'd say it depends on the severity of the crime. Like, okay, first offense, non-violent crime, maybe. Anything else? Oh, no. We give you the maximum sentence, and we give you nothing but bologna and water and nothing else, and let you go crazy locked up in some cell somewhere because, frankly, yeah, we're not wasting any more money on you. I don't know. Okay, I think our president would endorse AI judges since he has put an executive order to promote advancement of AI. Yeah, that's kind of scary. The law didn't look at if you were going to be a repeat offender, but that was to make the people understand they couldn't keep the law perfectly. There's actually some Old Testament repeat offender things, actually. Another thing to bear in mind, AI judge thing, how do you know that it actually knows the law? Like, people who work for the IRS have never read the tax code. Yep. Give them training pamphlets, most of which say things like the IRS tax code does not say, but suggests, though not necessarily. Yeah. Any AI anywhere is taking someone's job from their way of making a living. AI does not consume. Economy needs consumers. Yep. Structuring is not illegal, but if you say a lie over and over. No one cares if it's untrue anymore. Any bank, any IRS agent, most people will tell you structuring is illegal, but it's not. AI takes the blame for bad decisions, but what if it's programmed to make bad decisions against whistleblowers? Yeah. AI going crazy is the Matrix or Terminator. Yep. Emotion gets in the way of logic. Well, but sometimes, the reason emotion gets in the way of logic is because sometimes logic must be overridden. There's just times you have to override logic. God made an emotional decision. He would have taken his son off the cross when he cried, "Why have you forsaken me?" But logical decision required death for the good of many. I wouldn't place the crucifixion of Christ in the realm of logic. I would place that in the realm of sovereignty of God. Revenge is purely emotional decision that usually doesn't work out that well. Yep. AI soldiers can be programmed to turn on its own, kind of like what happened in Star Wars. Or the new RoboCop remake. Remember, the machine would take over in times of combat. But without times of combat, Murphy would be the one making all the decisions, but in times of combat, the AI would be making all the decisions. So the RoboCop is one of the better examples of what we're talking about here, if you haven't seen the new RoboCop. I say new, it's kind of old by now, but at least it's not the 1980s version. AI tech needs to slow down. We need to go back to old-fashioned ways of doing things ourselves, not letting companies take us doing stuff away from us. Yeah. Be biased if looking at statistical data like banks once were when they let AI decide whether to accept a loan was harsher on black people due to the Marxist-based statistics. Yes, that is the problem with AI, is it looks at statistical stuff. So your pred poll always puts more police officers in black neighborhoods than white neighborhoods. You know, not cool. But yeah, if you're feeding statistical data to AI, biases will get in there. Don't tell me Microsoft wants to put self-driving cars on the road. Oh, lordy. No, flee the hills. We all lived through Windows 95's blue screens of death. We don't want Microsoft cars on the road. Freshman chemistry, then I'd rather teach English or a second language. Hey man, one of my classes was freshman chemistry at 8 in the morning. And I lived 35 miles from the school over a mountain in another county in central Pennsylvania. Yeah, judges can't be bought, but it can be wirelessly hacked. Yes. That is a pro and a con. You cannot buy the thing, but you can hack it. Oh, boy. Governments and corporations have become greedy for technology or willing to replace even the critical people with robots. Yep. King who wanted everything he touched to turn into gold realized even his family and food would turn into gold if he were to touch them. Yep. I think decided by an AI judge will probably be instantly appealed and handed over to a human, so pointless. And that is definitely a big concern. Anyone on the losing end of the AI is going to ask a human to do it. And so all it does is just cost us money and then still causes us to go into the problem. So I don't know. Maybe though we will be a little bit better off in that the AI printout will give the bullet point summaries to look into more easily. I don't know. That's definitely a concern now. You accuse a judge of being a foreign agent, oppressed American citizens, bar affiliation, your replacement is even more diluted AI. Yep. C++ judge. Oh boy. I want my judge to be A++. All right. Not want to be judged by a machine. Also private for-profit prisons. Like their cells full. They would hate anything that speeds up the injustice system. I think for-profit prisons should probably just be closed down. You have to have a certain percentage of people in there. Yeah, does that not get false people in there? I don't know. Your world was emotionless and purely logical. Your world would look much more bleak. And that's what Estonia is going to become. AI would be better for politicians and powerful, scary people who could actually scare human judges and juries who can also be bought. Yeah, but then you just pay the tech geek to program your decisions that you want made into it. We live in a simulation anyway. Greetings, Linux Daily. How's it going there? Keep missing the streams. No problem, man. With a real person making the crooked decisions under the premise it's AI doing the decisions. Hands clean. AI judges should not be network connected. Correct. Microsoft cars will drive to your destination. Just need to manually install these 35 updates first. 1.5 hours remaining. Take a few minutes. Reality, you're sitting there for 6 hours. 40% complete. No. All right, let's go ahead and have a look at our next topic, which is going to be Budgie. Need to close this down. Let me go ahead and boot up my virtual machine. Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, we are going to continue looking at making the best of our desktop environments, and today we are going to look at Budgie. A few people actually asked me for this one in light of the Mate and the Cinnamon versions that I did. And so we are going to look at the latest version of Budgie from Solus 4.0. If I can get booted into the machine. All right, so we're going to cover just the basics of the desktop, how to get it configured, just the basic things to make your desktop your own and make the system that you really would like. All right, so here we are on Solus Budgie. Now, of course, depending on which build you have, you may have something that is slightly different. So Ubuntu Budgie likes putting the panel at the top because that's Ubuntu's thing. A lot of your Budgie instances will put your panel at the bottom. We are using Solus because the Solus team is who developed Budgie, and so we will have, I think, the best experience overall. So some things may be slightly different depending on what you're doing and what version of Budgie you have. So to start out, of course, Budgie has a basic menu. This is really the only menu you have. It's a good menu. It just doesn't have much customizability. We have a basic panel. We also have a Raven menu, which is where you will get applets, which will give you a lot of useful information, such as your microphone inputs, outputs, calendars. If you're playing media, it will appear down here. We also have notifications over here. Now, something I missed in my first video is I had commented if you remove the power button from the bottom, then you don't have the power options here. Those are actually there. It's just on this version of Budgie, they are disabled by default. I'm not sure if that's always been an option you could turn on or turn off, but it is there. I'm going to show you where that section is. Now, of course, on this, we also do not have desktop icons, but we can turn them on if we would like to. And so what we're going to do is first just kind of the basics. Right-clicking, because we have folder options turned off, this is the only system that we have. We can go to displays, we can change our background, and we can do our settings. All right. Now, there are, like I said, you can enable the desktop icons. If you do, you will see more things in the in the menu here. So let's go ahead and have a look at our settings. Now, this is your GNOME settings. Budgie is based on GNOME, and so this is the settings panel that you'd be used to if you were doing GNOME. But there is another settings panel, which is the Budgie desktop settings. We will not look into the GNOME settings today just because it's standard with most of the other GNOME stuff. The only one that you might really want to take interest in is look at your online accounts in the event you want to connect to Google, Nextcloud, Facebook, Microsoft, etc. You can actually integrate your online accounts here, and those will integrate to your different things. You also have things, your basic backgrounds, privacy settings, sharing, sound, devices, details, things like that. So we are going to look mostly at the Budgie desktop settings today. So of course, over here, enabling your desktop icons. Now we will have the ability to create a new folder, keep your icons aligned, organize desktop by name. So there's other options in here turning this on. And then we have the ability to enable a different series of things as well. So I like to keep my system looking much like this. That's my personal preference. You may or may not have preferences, but this is where you make those changes. Again, changing the background, this just brings up your GNOME settings. So you can come into here and just find the background that you like the most for what you're doing. So let's go ahead and change the background. So see what that looks like. Very easy, simple stuff, nothing major. Let's go with this one. I think that this will be, I don't know, that's a little dark actually. Oh, the cute kitten desktop. We have to do that one. All right. We found our desktop, guys. We found our desktop. All right. So we're going to run with this. Now, the next thing is looking at your different styling. So these are kind of your widget styles. This will kind of determine what some of your widgets look like. We'll talk about looking at some widgets a little bit later, but you have some options to change those around. Our icon sets, we just have a few icons built in by default. Again, based on the distro, you'll have different variety of icons to choose from. There's no place where you can install icons basically from the GUI. But like most Linux systems, you can actually put a .icons folder in your home directory, or if you wanted to install them system-wide, you could go into your computer and put them inside. I think it's under user share. So inside of here, there will be an icons folder, fonts folders, things like that. So that's much the same. Then, of course, cursors the same way. Notifications will determine where your notifications happen to be. And then, of course, we have light theme and dark theme options. Now, the theming, I've never quite got all the theming exactly where I wanted it to be with Budgie. So, of course, we have light theme, dark theme here. But again, if I'm over here and you toggle this, it doesn't seem to do much. So it is going to be dependent on your individual theme setups, what things look like and stuff like that. So, of course, this one looks much the same, but it does have light theme, dark theme options. The default one does not. So this is kind of where you change it. And then there's animations. So does this kind of go up instantly, or is it going to go up or down with little animations? All right. So that's kind of your basic styling. Fonts, of course, you can do your text scaling here. We'll go ahead and bump this up just a little bit so you guys can see the video a little bit better. So that's how you can do your text scaling. And then, of course, you can set your fonts and things like that. Now, Raven, this is the place where I missed this setting on the original review of Budgie on Solus 4. When you toggle this on, now we have our power, our settings, our lock screen on the bottom. So if I toggle that off, that now disappears. I don't know if this has always been an option or if they have added it and they've just made it disabled by default. I personally like that option. Show media control widgets. What that is if we happen to have some music playing. So I'll go ahead and boot up Rhythm Box here. Now you'll see Rhythm Box will have its own little widget down here. So I can actually, toggling that should turn off your music players. Again, the same with your show your microphones, show your sounds, show your calendars, basic things like this. You can toggle this one to allow your volume to go up a little bit higher. As far as windows, attach modal dialogues to windows. So these are when you get a little pop-up of some form or another. Is it going to be detached from the window or attached from the window? You have your button layout. You can put it kind of like more of a Mac view, more like a Windows view. And then when you launch new windows, do those appear center on the screen? Or do they not? I'm not sure why that one didn't. I'm not sure exactly which one that's covering. Disable night mode when windows are full screen. So you can turn that on or off. Automatic tiling, and then window focuses, things like that. Now, the next place, let's go ahead and jump down to auto start. So if you want to auto start any applications, you can do a simple command or an application. So from here, you can find an application, and whatever you were to put in here, it will automatically start when the system loads. You can also run a command, which you just type in the command that you want. All right, so now as far as your panels are concerned, we have panels here, and when you click on your panel, you have the option to set your position. So if you like your panels on the top, it's just a simple matter of grabbing this. You can put them on the left, on the right. I personally like them on the bottom. That's what I like. Totally up to you. Of course, you can increase or decrease the size of your panel here, depending on how big or small you happen to like it. And then you can set your automatic hide. So our automatic will automatically hide our panels. There's intelligent. If you get something near it, it will hide. And I like to set never. So that's my personal preference. And then you can do transparency. So we have some degree of transparency on the panel. There's drop shadows, style reasons, and then dock mode. So your dock mode will condense your panel down to this size here, or you can go large like this. So those are the various settings that you have. You also have various applets. Okay, so with my power options turned on this, I actually would probably not want to run the, let's go ahead and remove that applet, gets rid of the power button things. I prefer them to be on the Raven menu. That's what I like to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Also of note, the default when you boot something up, we have more like a Windows type approach, a modern Windows approach where everything just kind of stays over there. If you like your task list, you just need to find an applet, load up the applet for this, and what you're going to do is, I think it is task list. So adding the task list, we're going to add that applet, so you'll see it'll drop, but it defaults to the center. So we're just going to use my arrows and move things around. So you can actually go ahead and move stuff around all over the place. I like it kind of like this. Now, one of the things that I don't really like about Budgie is, as of now, they still do not have the option to set these up like a quick launch bar. So if I click this, as many times as I click this, I get a new one. There still is no option to do that I am aware of. But nevertheless, it's okay enough for me. I can add my task list. There's other things, so like I can add caffeine as something that I sometimes like, because there's times I'm going to walk away from the computer multiple times throughout the day and I want the screen to turn off, but there's times I never want the screen to turn off if I'm sitting here. And so caffeine allows you to do that. That is, go ahead and put that over here, so I can come over here and I can enable caffeine so the screen will never go out, or I can disable it. And then it will not. All right, so there's other applets in here as well. There's not a ton of them. I believe that you can, there might be some applets that you can find. So that's your basic settings. If you want to, you can create a new panel. So the new panel there, it will kind of give us our default where, you know, the next one goes on the top. So if you want to put like a giant task list of shortcuts across the whole top and intelligently hide it, you could do something like that. If you would just want some of the information up there and not everything, you can have multiple different panels. And then, of course, you can delete the panel with the button over there. So that is kind of your Budgie. There's not a lot else to it than that. So what I like about Budgie is it's, excuse me, it is a very modern desktop. It has a lot of your basic modern functionalities. It is has more functions and features than GNOME does. It is fairly fast, snappy, and responsive. That's the other thing I didn't do. How much system memory is it using? So right now we're using less than a gig of RAM, which is pretty good. Go ahead and time and date settings over there. I can automatic time zones. I can select my formatting over here for the clock as well. That's something I didn't do earlier. So that, in a nutshell, is Budgie. Very nice system, easy to work with. It has just enough options, just enough flexibility, but doesn't overwhelm you with choices. So that's really why I like the Budgie desktop. Let me know what you think about the Budgie desktop and which one of these desktops that I should talk about next. If you want to help support the channel, have a look at the links up above me or in the description down below, and you can follow along on any of the social media accounts there if you would like to get some better updates as to what's going on the channel. So thanks for coming along, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux. All right, let's go ahead and power this guy down. You know what, though? The thing doesn't give me the option to just... It does not give me the option to just shut down the computer anymore. It only gives me the logout option. I have to go to the logout screen and shut down the computer from there. That's a little bit of short-sightedness. All right. But anyway, let's go ahead and pull our comments back up. Wrap this guy up. Agent could gain physical address to the AI judge, or code could be inserted when the judge is being manufactured. That's right. Just don't manufacture the AI judges in China. Limited experience. Budgie is GNOME for people who hate GNOME, or just GNOME with less GNOME. And yeah, there you go. Yeah. Like a version of Linux that boots into virtual Windows 7. And blocks communication to Redmond. Microsoft cuts support for Windows 7. We will see a major influx of people who really want to make Linux a better gaming-wise. I don't know. They might. I don't know. I think most of your hardcore gamers are already on Windows 10 because the newer games for the last 2 years haven't worked on Windows 7 anyway. Hardware doesn't work on 7. I have a ton of software that won't. Maybe things would be better. I would laugh if the farewell update for Windows 7 boots just as long as Windows 7 looks like Windows 7, the login screen. Yeah. Force feedback steering wheel chair. Well, this is about a quarter. 5% have to get rid of telemetry. Yeah. Biggest issue with Windows 10, in my opinion, man. You boot that thing up, it still pushes disk spin up to like 100% and just sits there. It's a boon for most people I maintain computers for. Can Solus run any Mint program with Snap? I don't know if the Mint custom programs, I don't know if those are available as snaps. I don't know. Using 4.6 gigs on Manjaro system. What else are you doing? Forced updates in many cases okay, but when they're inconvenient, like many people, Windows Update in the middle of the seminar, or why not? Yeah. For a rolling release or 6 months support? I prefer... neither. I prefer an LTS. I want something that I can install the system on, and I have a good several years of support on it without having to change. So like, I'm running this system on Linux Mint 18.3, which is still supported for a few more years. I don't want to change the system every 9 months, nor do I want the system changing every time there's an update. I want the system changing every few years. That's my preference. Don't have full game supporters because many developers don't want to spend the time to make a Linux version. Read the code with Sublime Text Editor on recent updates to Linux. The code is scrambled until you uncode it with a text editor. All right. Well, it is about 60 degrees outside, and I'm not going to hang out inside here any longer. So I think we're going to go ahead and jump off at this point. So thanks for coming along, guys. HDD after 20 minutes makes amazing difference. Okay. Well, I only have a Windows virtual machine. I don't have a Windows 10 hard machine anymore. So, you know. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming along. And once again, have a look at all of the links in the description and all the other fun, jazzy stuff. Thanks for coming along on this show. And see you guys. I guess my next live show, I think I should be doing a live show on Wednesday. Let's see. Yeah, first and third Wednesdays is when I'm doing live shows on Wednesdays. So Wednesday will be the next live show. We'll catch you guys later. Thanks for coming along and hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.